Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. To be honest, a lot of blowouts tonight, but there is one team in particular that, although they didn't have a great, super close game all the way up until the end, I need to apologize to, because before the season, I slept on them. I will fully admit that, and I've said a million times on this channel, I like when teams and players prove me wrong and exceed my expectations. So today, for the most part, I'm going to be apologizing to that one team, that is the Sacramento Kings, but I'm also going to talk about a couple of the other games, so make sure to stay tuned for those, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Like I said, most of this video is going to be about the Sacramento Kings, who tonight played the Houston Rockets, and it was a close game for the most part. The Kings were only up 5 with about 5 minutes and 10 seconds to go, and then they ended up winning by 20, having a huge offensive explosion to close things out, and it really showcases just how great they can be offensively. They're a top 5 offense in the league, and they're able to put up points in basically an instant. If their three-point shooters get hot, if Sabonis is bowling his way down low, De'Aaron Fox is attacking, especially in crunch time when he's one of the best clutch players in the league this season. There's not much you can do to stop the Sacramento Kings, especially when you're a team like Houston, who's currently rebuilding and just doesn't have the personnel to stop one of the best offensive forces right now in the association. And that leads us into the Sacramento Kings, who with this win are tied for the 4th seed in the Western Conference with the Dallas Mavericks. They've been phenomenal this season, and before the year, I believe I predicted them to be the 10 seed, right there on the edge of the play-in tournament. I wasn't sure if they were going to make it or not, and right now they're in the thick of not just the play-in tournament race, but the playoff race itself. If the season ended today, they'd be on the verge of home court advantage in the Western Conference playoffs, which I never would have seen coming prior to this season. Sacramento is of course led by their 2 all-star caliber players in Domantas, Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox. Now, we are going to start with Sabonis here because in my opinion, he's been their best player this year and probably the 3rd best center in the league behind Jokic and Embiid. I think Bam Adebayo is also right there in that conversation. You can go either way, but Sabonis being in that conversation is a huge win in itself. Tonight, he had basically a typical stat line that you can see almost any night from him. He had 25 points, 14 boards, and 9 dimes. And on the season, he's averaging 19 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, 7 assists, while shooting 62% from the field and 41% from deep. These are monster numbers. As you can tell, offensively, he is dominant. Offensive glass, defensive glass, he's grabbing boards. He's bullying guys down low to get these rebounds and putting them right back up and in, finishing with and ones. He can also body up a lot of the guys in the league. If you try to go small against the Kings, Sabonis is going to make you pay time and time again because he's really able to take advantage of those mismatches. And even if you put a good defender on him, Sabonis is still going to get his shots off, do it efficiently, and really just put your guy out of position any way he can with a combination of post moves or, playmaking wise. He can set up his teammates as well to break down the defense. He's a phenomenal playmaker out of the front court position, and honestly just one of the best offensive players in the front court position that we have right now in the league. It's been super fun to watch him play. Sure, there are still some concerns defensively, although I do think he's gotten better and better on that end. And ultimately, his offensive versatility absolutely outweighs any defensive concerns that a team might have with him. He also plays phenomenally off of De'Aaron Fox. We saw a preview of it at the end of last season, and the two of them play really well together, which is huge because, to be honest, I was a big critic of the Sabonis trade. I thought giving up Tyrese Halliburton, who's a monster in just his sophomore season, and even now, he's playing some phenomenal basketball. Even last year, once he got traded to Indiana, that little stretch we saw from him, he was so special whenever teams gave him the keys to the offense. We saw it when De'Aaron Fox missed some time last season. He really stepped up in a big way, and same thing with Indiana. They gave him the keys and said, go to work, and he was amazing. So I was a big critic because I didn't think Sabonis really put them in deep playoff conversations. And yeah, there still is a ton of time for them to fall out of the standings where they are at the moment because the West is so close. And we've seen a lot of things happen at the Sacramento Kings to the point where they honestly might just be cursed. So maybe they won't ever break this playoff drought. But Sabonis and Fox have been such a great duo alongside each other that right now it feels like truly a win-win trade for Indiana and Sacramento. We'll see if that changes at all down the line. But for the moment, it seems like the Kings found a way to improve their roster while also giving Indiana the player that they were looking for, which is pretty rare in the NBA to see win-win trades quite like this. And of course, you've also got De'Aaron Fox, who's putting up an all-star campaign of his own. Tonight, he had 24 points and 9 assists, and he's been phenomenal, probably having the best season of his career. It might not look like it if you just look at the statistics, but in terms of his impact and the way that he's helping the Kings win games, it's probably been the best year that he's ever had, which is huge because last year was one of his worst seasons since like his first 2. A lot of people, me included, were pretty down on De'Aaron Fox to the point where I thought maybe the move was to commit to Halliburton and instead trade Fox to a different team. However, they didn't end up doing that, and it's worked out really well. Him and Sabonis are a great pairing. Like I said, Sabonis can stretch the floor a bit as a big and is a great playmaker to get De'Aaron Fox the ball in spots if he needs to do so. And Sabonis can also get out of the way and just let Fox cook like he does a lot of time in clutch scenarios, because right now Fox is second in the NBA in clutch time scoring, only behind DeMar DeRozan. It feels like he does not miss in those moments, whether it's a pull-up mid-range jumper, it's a floater, he's hitting some threes, which he's still not phenomenal at, but when it gets to crunch time, it feels like Fox cannot miss from deep. It feels like he really has just never missed a clutch time jumper this season, and so having play like that on a team that is trying to compete, and if they didn't have a clutch player like him, they probably would be nowhere near this spot. He has almost single-handedly won them a ton of games down the stretch just by consistently putting up bucket after bucket, matching opposing teams' best scores when they need him to. It's been amazing to watch, and once again, I'm glad I was wrong about Fox like I was about Sabonis and about this team as a whole, because there are so many other players contributing in big ways as well. Probably the biggest one is Kevin Huerter, who's been one of the best shooters in the league so far this season. He didn't play tonight in the win, but on the season, I'm sure you probably know, he's been a sniper from deep. You've also got guys like Keegan Murray, who just won Western Conference Rookie of the Month, and while he isn't doing quite what some people thought he would do and win Rookie of the Year, he's still been really solid as of late and is shooting 41% from deep on the season, while playing some pretty solid defense to go alongside that. Harrison Barnes has also been solid as of late. He had a 30-point game last time and had 16 points tonight. Malik Monk has been an incredible acquisition, putting up 14 points per game. Davion Mitchell gives them some great lockdown defense at the guard position. Trey Lyles had a monster game tonight with 15 points and 6 boards just in the fourth quarter, almost single-handedly helping the Kings put away the Houston Rockets. Other names like Chimezie Metu and Terrence Davis. It's just all around a really deep squad. Part of it also comes back to Coach Mike Brown, who in his first season with Sacramento is making a case for Coach of the Year. He's been amazing. He's got all of these guys in the exact roles they need to play. He's maximizing the talents of every guy on the roster. He's getting them in the right positions. Like I said, Kevin Huerter has been a sniper this season, and he was always great in Atlanta, but it's been the best season of his career, and part of that is using him in that offense with Sabonis, who's an offensive hub a lot of the time, using De'Aaron Fox while playing to both of those guys' strengths, and like I said, turning this team that I already thought would be pretty solid offensively into a top 5 offense, and for a lot of the season, they've been in the top 3, top 2 conversations. He also puts out some pretty unorthodox lineups that just end up working in a big way. Like tonight against Houston, he ran a 5-man group of De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Trey Lyles, and Domantas Sabonis. That's a lot of really big guys, but they made it work. They were punishing Houston, and there was nothing they could do to match up with their size. He's able to exploit a lot of the weaknesses in opposing defenses to help his team continuously produce offensively. So between the two all-star caliber players, the great coaching of Mike Brown, and a really deep roster, the Kings do feel poised right now to potentially break their playoff drought, which is one of the longest in North American sports at the moment. Now, once again, I will reiterate what I said earlier. There is plenty of time for things to fall apart. I still do worry a lot about their defense, which I believe is 23rd in the league at the moment. That's not great if you're trying to be a playoff team. They've definitely got to bring that back a little bit more, and I think maybe they could make some deadline moves to shore up that defense a little bit. But right now, the way they're playing offensively, even if they end up being a play-in team or don't make the playoffs, they've exceeded all my expectations up to this point. So I think they 100% deserve an apology. Kings fans, I was wrong about the squad. I thought they were going to be a lot worse than they were, although I think a lot of people were kind of in the same boat where it felt like the Kings had the potential to be good, but what we've seen a lot of the time from them is that they'll put together solid rosters, and it just doesn't end up working out because the Kings truly may be cursed. However, right now they're playing some phenomenal basketball. They deserve an apology from me, and I'm sure a lot of you out there as well. So if you were also wrong about the Kings, let me know in the comment section below, and Kings fans, I hope you can forgive me. In some other league news, we had Knicks versus Pacers, which saw Jalen Brunson lead the way for New York in a big win over a team that's competing directly with them for Eastern Conference seeding. Jalen Brunson had 34 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, including a super clutch corner 3 that kind of helped seal this one. He's been great. I thought he was a little bit overpaid in the offseason, as many people did, but he's played up to that contract and more, looking like an all-star potentially this season. RJ Barrett had 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 dimes in his return game from injury. Then you had Julius Randle, who had 14 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 dimes. Not one of his best stat lines recently, which is honestly kind of impressive to say the least. He's been putting up consistent 25 and 10 games. It feels like he's been one of the best first quarter scorers in the NBA, continuously setting a tone, and this game was no exception. While he didn't have, one of his best scoring games, he was really impactful and played a big role in this win. As for the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton left this one early with injury, and he apparently left the arena in crutches, which is not a good sign. Hopefully it's just a precautionary thing and it's nothing long term. That would say keep him out of an all-star game or over these next few games for the Indiana Pacers, who really need him to continue the surprise season they've been having. So I'll keep my fingers crossed on that. Hopefully he's good to go. Then we had Celtics versus Pelicans, which could potentially be a dark horse finals matchup down the line if Brandon Ingram and Zion can get consistently healthy, which in this one neither of them played, and due to that, Boston ends up taking home the win. Jaylen Brown led the way with 41 points and 12 boards. He's continuously making a case to be an all-star starter alongside his teammate Jason Tatum with 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's making his MVP case at the moment while continuously trying to keep pace with Giannis, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid to be one of the starters in the Eastern Conference front court. On the other side, CJ McCollum had a 38-point outing. He's been great as of recently. This was his second 30-point game in a row, and it's nice to see that he can still have these crazy scoring takeovers when his team needs it. Without Ingram, without Zion, they need somebody to step up the scoring in a really big way, and CJ McCollum was able to do that over the past couple of games. Even if it didn't lead to a win tonight, it's still nice to know that he can be that high-level scoring threat. The final game I want to go in-depth into is Bucks versus Hawks, which was a very ugly game from Milwaukee, but they did end up getting the win. They're up by 20 points at the end of the first quarter. The Hawks brought this all the way back to, I believe, 3 points it was in the fourth quarter, really late in the fourth as well. However, Milwaukee managed to turn things around and get the win. They're led by Brook Lopez, who had 20 points and 12 boards, as well as Drew Holiday, who's been great recently and is making a late push to be an all-star. He had 27, 4, and 5 in this one. Then we have Giannis, who has been weirdly really bad offensively in his last few outings. Tonight, he did have 18 boards and 10 assists, so he did still have a big impactful game, but he shot just 3 of 10 for 7 points, which is strange to see for Giannis. We never see him score single digits, but we also saw that a few games ago where he had just 9 points against the Hornets. He had a pretty inefficient 22 in the game in the middle between those two outings. I don't know what's going on with him offensively. Hawks did do a good job of stopping him defensively tonight. Onyeka Okongwu is one of those guys that feels like he does a pretty good job on Giannis continuously, but even still, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo, pretty much the consensus best player in the world at the moment. So it's just a little bit startling to see these numbers from him. You know, Milwaukee, like I said, still did come out with the win, but you want to see Giannis get back to his usual self, which I think he will sooner than later. To wrap up the rest of the games, the Pistons blew out the Wolves by 17 points. They're led by Saddiq Bey, who had 31 as 6 Pistons scored in double digits. The Grizzlies beat the Spurs by 6, led by Ja, who had 38 points, and Steven Adams and Triple J both added double-doubles. The Nuggets blew up the Suns by 29 points, with Jokic dropping another just absurd stat line of 21 points, 18 boards, and 9 dimes in just 28 minutes. And meanwhile, the Wizards won the battle of teams that should probably blow it up over the Chicago Bulls with a late Kyle Kuzma 3 that sent them over the top. That's all I've got for y'all tonight. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Go ahead and comment down below letting me know what you think the Kings will do this season. Do you think they end up making the playoffs? Do you think they fall into the play-in tournament? Or do you think maybe they fall out of the play-in tournament altogether? If you're one of those people that think they finally break that playoff drought, do you think they could win a series? Do you think their cap is just making the playoffs? Let me know, as well as do you think Sabonis and Fox should both be all-stars? For me personally, I think Sabonis is a lock, but just with the guard play in the Western Conference, I think Fox ends up getting left out. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real One Save Back.